yogis, I'm Claire Kagan. Welcome back to my channel where you learn to love yourself and others through yoga. Today is day 18 of our 31-day affirmation challenge called the I Am Challenge. For day 18, our affirmation is I am aligned. So today in this class, we're going to be working on mostly standing poses and a lot of poses that we often do in our vinyasa classes, but focusing a little bit extra on alignment. So it'll be a little bit more instructional than usual, and maybe you'll learn a couple things that'll help you protect your body in yoga poses by aligning them properly. Just like how in yoga, when we align our poses properly, we can prevent injury, pain, and difficulty. That's the same in life. When we align our lives in the way that makes sense for us, we can prevent a lot of headaches later. So today we'll be thinking a little bit extra about how we can be aligned in our lives and affirming ourselves that we are aligned. The I Am Challenge is all about using affirmations to remind ourselves how awesome we are, but it's also about encouraging the yogis in our community. So if you want to participate in the social part of this challenge, there's a link in the description down below where you can print out a calendar that lists all the class themes on it. You can cross off the days as you complete the classes, and you can even post pictures and videos of yourself completing this challenge online. If you do decide to do that, make sure that you tag me at Claire Kagan, and you also use the hashtag IamChallenge2021 so that myself and other yogis can see you and encourage you. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment. This really helps other people find this channel and it helps this community continue to grow. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Throughout this whole challenge, these videos are going to be posted at noon Eastern time in the US as premieres on YouTube, which means that I'll be there to chat and flow with you as this video is going live every day. Everything on this channel and in this challenge is totally free, but if you want to support this work with your donations, you can donate to the PayPal or the Venmo in the description down below. 50% of everything you give goes to a different charity at the end of each month, which we vote on Instagram. So if you want to participate in voting, you can follow me at Claire Kagan. This whole class can be done without props, but I will give some variations that include yoga blocks. So if you do have them or a substitute like a book or a shoebox handy, I would definitely recommend having those around if you know that you like to use blocks in your practice. When you're ready to get started with day 18, I am aligned, you can go ahead and meet me on your mat. All right, yogis, once you make it to your mat, we're gonna start off in a mountain pose, Tadasana. So this is a foundational pose for setting up our standing poses in yoga. So I wanted to talk about it for just a minute as we are starting. So to set this up, you want your feet to be hip width apart or together, but I find that most people find it more comfortable to have the feet hip width apart. You're gonna root down through the feet, spreading the toes nice and wide, making sure that all four corners of the feet have an even amount of weight in them. Engage, pulling up through the thighs, drawing the kneecaps up toward the hips, having that spine nice and straight and long. So the shoulders are stacked right over the hips, and you're drawing energy all the way up through the crown of the head. Relaxing the shoulders, allowing the arms just to hang down by the sides, not necessarily shoving them with force into a really straight position. They can just relax, palms facing forward. So this is a good place to start with our Tadasana mountain pose. We are firm, we are sturdy, we are stable, but we're not stressing our bodies by engaging too much. Lift both the arms up overhead. We'll drop the right hand down to the outside of the right thigh and start to bend a little bit through the side body, sliding the right hand down the thigh, reaching over toward the right with the left hand. Here in this side bend, we want to be aligned so that it's like we're in between two panes of glass. Our whole body is in one line. We're not leaning forward or back. So focusing a lot on keeping that core engaged. Inhale back up to center, lifting both arms. Exhale to drop the left hand down the thigh, and we'll bend over toward the left, reaching to the left with the right fingertips. Just like on the last side, focus on keeping that body in one straight line instead of leaning back or leaning forward. We're nice and stable and strong here. Inhale back up to center. You can drop that right hand down and shake it out a little bit. Making your way to Tadasana at the front of your mat, facing forward if you're not already there. Relax those shoulders. Again, remembering to root through those feet. Draw the kneecaps upward. Make the spine nice and long, just softly drawing the belly button toward the spine, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the arms, just gazing straight forward. Exhale all your air out. Inhale, reach up to the ceiling, nothing but the arms move. Exhale, fold all the way forward, hinging from the pelvis, leading with the chest, coming into a forward fold, keeping those feet either hip distance or together, whatever you were in your mountain pose. You'll elongate through that spine, so extending the crown of head toward the floor. Knees can definitely be bent here. I prefer taking this pose with my knees bent. Feels better on my spine and hamstrings, so that's up to you. Weight should be in the balls of the feet here. So instead of leaning back into the heels, we want to be leaning forward into the balls of the feet. As you inhale, come to your halfway lift. This can be done with blocks as well. So if the floor feels far away, you can stack the hands up on blocks. This gives you a little more room to extend the spine. You can also do this with hands on thighs, hands on calves, or hands on the mat. Exhale to fold. Plant the hands, step all the way back into a plank, and we'll stay here for a second just talking about our alignment really quickly. Spreading the fingers wide, gripping into the mat with the pads of the fingers. Wrists should be aligned right underneath the shoulders, wrist creases facing forward to parallel with the narrow edge of the mat. We're pressing through those hands to create a little dome shape in the upper back and drawing the belly button toward the spine. Nice, strong, straight legs, keeping the heels over the balls of the feet if possible. Just gazing up toward the top edge of our mat so that the neck isn't wrinkling on the front or the back. And we can lower all the way down to the belly. Untuck those toes, zip the legs together, and we will rise up into our baby cobra, bringing the chest and chin and shoulders off of the mat. You can even lift up those hands. Make sure that you're using the back to lift you instead of pressing through the hands. On the exhale, lower it back down, tuck the toes under, press up to plank, send the hips up and back, downward facing dog. So alignment here in your dog, just very quickly, is gonna be the same as plank. So the hands and feet position don't move from plank to dog. So that's a really good way to measure what your alignment should be on your foundation in your dog. Focusing on keeping a nice long spine. So again, just like in forward fold, you can have the knees soft here so that the spine can really elongate. It gives you extra room in the lower back, shining the back of the pelvis up toward the ceiling. Making sure that you're staying engaged in those shoulders so that you're not sinking toward the mat. You're nice and strong and stable. And we'll inhale the heels high, exhale the knees bend. We'll step forward to our halfway lift once again, taking whatever arm variation feels good in your body here. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, stand all the way up, reaching up, looking up. Exhale, hands come through heart center to Tadasana. Now we're gonna move through a Surya B. So that was our Surya A, and I won't go back over the poses that I've already talked about, but there are a couple new ones in our Surya B that I wanna go over, and we'll talk about our alignment in that sequence. So exhaling all the air out in your Tadasana, readjusting where you need to. Inhale the hands up, gaze up. Exhale, we'll sit the hips low, booty back into Utkatasana chair pose. So when you're in this chair pose, you can look down and see all 10 of your toes, pick them up and wiggle them. That means that the weight is in your heels. If you are not able to do that, shift the weight into your heels so that your booty comes back. Make sure that those knees aren't coming too far forward over your toes. We want our spine to be nice and long and neutral here, so not pushing the booty out too much, not tucking the tailbone under too much, but keeping the spine really neutral, drawing a long straight line from tailbone to crown of head, relaxing the shoulders. Hands can either be at heart center or raised toward the ceiling. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands. You can step back to plank or hop to Chaturanga. In Chaturanga, we'll send the weight forward just a little bit, bend the elbows to 90 degrees, and move to your upward facing dog or baby cobra. Exhale to downward facing dog. The poof does not make it easy for me to move through Chaturanga. Inhale, lift up the right leg, three-legged dog, keeping those hips square to the mat, so all 5 of the right toes point down to the mat instead of out to the side. Bend that knee, set the right foot down in between the hands. For this first round, we'll come up into a high lunge, a crescent lunge, so pressing through those feet, reaching up. In this high lunge, we're gonna have the front knee stacked over the front ankle. For the back foot, the back heel will be stacked over the back ball of the foot. So that might mean you need to take a wider stance than what you're used to, because a lot of the time we go like this. We want our weight to be nice and forward in the heel of that front foot. Using that thigh engaging so that the back knee is really straight, that back leg is super engaged here. Draw the belly button toward the spine, knitting the ribs together so that we're not dumping our weight into the lower back. We're staying nice and strong and tall up in this lunge, and I'll go over the rest on the other side. So inhale, hands up. Exhale, frame this front foot, move through your vinyasa, and meet me in your downward facing dog. Take a breath. Inhale, lift up that left leg, just like on the last side, hips are square. Exhale, bend that knee, send the left foot between the hands, press through the feet, high lunge. All right, so on this side, same alignment points with the setup of the legs, but in addition, we want our hips to be working towards square with the front of the mat as much as possible. Again, just like in pretty much every other pose, we want the spine to be super long. So drawing a long line all the way from the tailbone to the crown of the head, relaxing the shoulders, not necessarily pulling them down the back, just allowing them to settle down the back. And our hands, just like in chair, can be at heart center or rise up above the head. Inhale. Exhale, frame the foot, move through your vinyasa. Meet me in your dog, take a breath. Inhale, lift the heels. Exhale, bend the knees, step or hop forward to your halfway lift. Inhale, exhale, fold. Inhale, stand all the way up, reach up, look up. Exhale, hands through heart center to Tadasana. We're gonna move through our Surya B one more time, this time going through our Warrior One, but I'm not gonna go back over the poses I already have, so we'll move faster this time. Inhale, reach up, look up. Exhale, sit low, chair pose, Utkatasana. Inhale. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step or hop, plank or chaturanga. Upward dog or cobra. Downward facing dog, take a breath. Inhale, lift up that right leg, three-legged dog. Exhale, bend the knee, send the right foot between the hands. Spin the left heel down so that the left toes are pointing 45 degrees up to the top left corner of the mat. Heels to heels alignment. So right heel and left heel are on the same plane or a little bit wider if that feels good in your body, but definitely not narrower. Inhale to reach up, lifting up the hands toward the ceiling. So just like in pretty much every bent knee standing posture, we want the weight in our heel in this pose. And we also want the knee to be either directly over the front ankle or a little bit behind is okay. It doesn't really matter how deep you're bending your knee. So this is just as good as this, as long as the knee is over the ankle or behind it. The hips here are working towards square with the front of the mat. They're not going to be perfect. So it's okay if the hips are a teeny bit open to the left side, but we want to be working toward square here. To do that, just like I said, rooting through the front heel and the back outer edge. I'll go through the rest on the other side. Inhaling, lifting up. Exhale, frame the front foot. Move through your vinyasa. Come to your dog. Take a breath. Inhale the left leg high, three-legged dog. Exhale, send the left foot between the hands. Spin the right heel down. Again, right toes point to the top right corner of the mat. Inhale, pressing up, warrior one. So just like on the last side, rooting into the heel and the outer edge of the back foot and keeping that knee stacked over or behind the ankle. We want this back leg to be as straight as we can, keeping the heel down on the mat. We'll have that torso turning toward the front. Even if the hips aren't perfectly turned to the front, the shoulders are turned forward. So they're facing the narrow edge of the mat. Just like in every other pose, we want the spine to be super long. So here we do tend to dump into the lower back. So engage the core, engage that lower belly to protect the low back. Relaxing the shoulders, just like in every other pose that I've really talked about today. Hands can be at heart center if it's uncomfy to raise the hands up. In the traditional pose, hands are raised up toward the ceiling. And exhale, frame the front foot, move through your vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Inhale, we'll lift up that right leg once again. Exhale, send the right foot to plant between the hands. This time we'll move through a warrior two. So spinning the left heel down so that this time the left toes are pointing just about straight to the left. So to the wide edge of the mat. Inhale, lifting up into your warrior two. So we'll go over half the cues on this side and half on the other side. First, starting from the foundation, weight should be in the heel of the front foot, the outer edge of the back foot. Feet are aligned, front heel to back arch. The back foot, the toes can be pointed in slightly, and this helps put a little less strain on your hips in this position. So if the toes are pointed out slightly, the hips want to face perfectly toward the wide edge of the mat, and sometimes that causes this knee to torque inward. Instead, we'll point the toes a little bit to the inside, let the hips face a little bit off center, and then this knee can track straight over the second and third toe on this side. Inhale, reaching those arms to a T, looking over the right fingertips. And we'll move to a triangle. So from here, we'll straighten out of that front leg, scoot the back foot in just a couple inches. So I like to have a narrower stance in my triangle than in my warrior two. Bump those hips back toward the left foot. And before we go down, just like on the last side, those toes can be pointed in slightly on the back foot. They don't have to be perfectly pointed out to the side, and that'll help kind of make your hips feel a little bit less strain. Weight should be in the ball of the front foot, just like in all of our straight leg standing postures. And the weight should be in the back edge of our back foot. Those hips are back, nice and popped out to the left side, making sure we're not hyperextending that knee, engaging the hamstring and the calf on this leg, reaching out to a T and tilting the torso. In this pose, you have the option to use a block to the inside or the outside of your front foot. And I'll go through the rest on the second side. So come back up to your warrior two. We're gonna move through a goddess to get to the other side. So turning both sets of toes about 45 degrees out to the corners of the mat. Here, our knees should be stacked right over ankles, tracking over the second and third toe. Tucking the tailbone so that the spine is neutral, not curling under too much, but we want our spine to be stacked in one straight line. So our shoulders are resting in the same line as our hips. We'll draw those shoulders down the back, just relaxing them down the back, not forcing them ever really. And we'll just gaze forward. Hands can be to heart center, hands can be up, hands can be to goalpost, whatever feels good for you. Don't worry about getting those knees more bent in this pose. You don't have to be all the way down. Here, this is just as much of a goddess pose as long as the knees are aligned over the ankles. That's what really matters. So now we're gonna move to our second side of warrior two. Right toes point to that wide edge of the mat. Left toes track straight forward to the front of the mat. Well, I guess this is the back of the mat now. And just like on the last side, you can slightly point that back foot in just a little bit so that the hips are not tracking perfectly to the wide edge. They can track a little bit forward as well. So we've been over what our legs are doing, staying nice and engaged in this lunging leg, engaging this quadriceps so that the back leg is really straight and strong, back knee is straight. We're keeping a lot of engagement in all of our muscles here. Drawing the belly button up and in, drawing the ribs together so that the core is engaged, spine is straight and tall. We're relaxing the shoulders down the back and reaching out to either side, gazing over the front fingers. Our shoulders should be facing directly to that wide edge of the mat. So even if our hips aren't perfectly facing that way, shoulders can be. All right, from here we'll move into our triangle. So straightening out that front leg, scoot the back foot in just a little bit to your triangle stance that's a little narrower. Straightening out that front leg. Weight is in the ball of the front foot, the outer edge of the back foot. Bump the hips back just a little bit and arms out to a T. Windmill that torso forward. So in the upper body here, we want to have a really long spine. I know you had no idea I was going to say that, but just like in every other pose, our spine being long is a priority. So make sure that both sides of the waist are nice and long. That might mean having the hand on a block to the inside or outside of the foot, or resting it on the top of the thigh or the shin instead of on the floor if that causes your torso to crunch it all in that bottom side waist. Inhale back up to your warrior two, straighten out of that leg, and we'll heel toe the feet together. We'll end in a Tadasana just like we started, rooting through those feet, spreading the toes, making the weight even on all four corners, drawing the kneecaps up toward the hip points, engaging the thighs, drawing the belly button in, knitting the ribs together, allowing the shoulders just to settle on top of your torso and arms to gently hang alongside the sides, looking straight ahead. So this is the end of our day 18 class, I Am Aligned. I hope that this class helped you learn some important alignment cues in a lot of poses that we often do together, and it'll help your practice feel more aligned and maybe even your life too. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to see you back here again tomorrow for day 19. Namaste.